like to call this meeting to order of the Geneva Historic Preservation Commission for Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. If you could call the roll.
Zelmer.
Here.
Tobler.
Here.
Jensen. Here. McManus. Here. Phillips.
Here.
Solomon.
Okay, we have a quorum, so first item on our agenda is approval of meeting minutes for May 20th, 2025. Any comments?
No.
If no comments, if could I get a motion to approve?
Motion approved.
And a
Second.
Okay, and call the roll.
Zelmer.
Aye.
Tobler.
Aye.
Jensen. Aye. McManus. Aye. Phillips.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, next on our agenda is review of building permit applications. 216 Stevens Street, if you could take it away.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessie. I'm the assistant planner. I'm just going to give a short presentation about the case, and then the applicants will take it away. They are requesting replacement of 3 historic windows on the upper level and 4 non-historic windows on the lower level. That's where the property is. There's a little bit of history on this property. So the garage with the second floor rental apartment was constructed in 1937, and then it was rented out, rented again in 43, sold somewhere between 1945 and 1960, and then that's kind of it for the history. But then a city permit we have is from 2007 for replacing a driveway with pavers, and those are the images of the house from '99. The historic windows are on the top there, you can see, non-historic on the bottom. So I made a mistake. I thought that the upper historic windows were aluminum-clad wood, but Window Roper had put in his estimate, that's the repair contractor, that it was, the storm windows were aluminum, and then the actual windows are wood, and I misinterpreted that. So that's my correction there. So the actual storm windows are aluminum full wood windows. So this is not a proposal for an in-kind replacement as I previously wrote. It's an alternative material replacement. That's for the upper 3 historic windows. So that does change the calculations a little bit. But then, other than that, the sizes are the new window proposed size compared to the current window is pretty much the same. They have simulated divided lights, as is correct per our policy. And then the material is different. And then for the non-historic windows on the ground floor, they're going to match the top proposed windows with the 6 panes in the top sash, 1 pane in the bottom sash, but the current non-historic windows are 1 pane, and they are aluminum jambs. So I just replaced the word there to fix that. It doesn't change pricing. The pricing for repair is cheaper than the pricing to replace. And then I have the pictures illustrating things, and the applicants can come up if they'd like to do the podium, and they can flip through these, or I can flip through them as they talk.
You know, it would be great if you could land on the image where you've got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah. Oh, go.
Amazing, thank you.
Good evening. First time here, so I'm not sure exactly what the process is. Obviously, as you can see, the condition of the windows are not great.
If you could state your name for the record.
Oh.
That'd be great.
Eric Borman.
And I'm Heather Sutherland.
Thank you. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. So when we moved into the house, the windows were already fairly deteriorated. Obviously, we've been picking our battles with the different things we've been doing to the house. We're finally getting around to the windows after this winter. The big thing we're really looking for is just the thermal efficiency of the windows is not great. If you could forward to the picture with the in the winter with the frost.
Here, sorry.
So if the frost issues, I mean, that's pretty common throughout the winter. Obviously, that translates to the summer as well. We get a lot of drafts in the winter. In the summer, our air conditioning struggles to kind of keep some of the rooms warm when we're by the windows, and the thought would be new windows with the increased efficiency would be a big help, just in comfort, obviously in cost.
And there are windows that don't close completely at all whatsoever. They're open. And when they're closed, there's gaps behind them that allow just free-flowing air. There's no way to seal them. I've used duct tape for quite some time, and extra foam and extra caulking, and it's still allowing for that much condensation and frost to develop.
And that's the historical windows that you're referring to?
It's both,
Okay.
yeah. There's definitely more wood rot upstairs and more water leakage upstairs, but we have the same issue with closing and open airways.
In the picture from the frost were the upstairs historic windows. And I'm not a windows person, but if you could go back to the exterior of the so that to me looks aluminum clad. I guess this is the first I'm hearing he's saying that's not an aluminum clad exterior window.
I think that it's probably a on the upper floors, there are wood windows with aluminum storm windows, which is, that's a common type of storm window with a built-in screen and storm window together. That's a pretty common thing. But
So it's just
It's
screwed
just
onto the
screwed
face of
onto
the
the
window.
face of the window.
The actual window sashes themselves are just all wood, so that's,
yeah,
versus an aluminum clad, which has aluminum bound to the wood.
yeah.
So the
on the
fact that
face
it's
of it.
screwed on versus,
Right.
Yeah,
right.
it's actually a storm window per se.
You could
Okay.
screw that off, take
You
that
could,
off.
that could be taken off very easily.
Yeah,
and-
it's just an accessory
Yeah.
to a
Okay.
window.
yeah.
not by me, I don't like ladders, but, so, any question, I guess what would be the next questions?
I guess the one thing that if we go back, I think the lower windows that are not historic, I don't think any of us would have an issue with you replacing those windows at all.
Sure.
I mean, that is, and I don't know what vintage the windows are. You probably don't know.
He said 70s was the estimate, but
Yeah.
I don't think anyone there's no record, so.
Yeah, and again, I don't think anyone in this commission would have a problem with replacing those windows. It's the upper windows that we really want to talk about.
Sure.
And it is our window policy that they kind of got following the SOI standards, which is the Secretary of Interior standards, to actually go through and say, if you're going to work on if you want your windows to be, the first thing you should look at is repairing the window. And if it's beyond repair, you can go to a replacement window, and our window policy allows to go with an aluminum clad wood window at that point if it needs to be replaced.
Okay.
And you could even go to I think I don't know what there's another type of window that's available that is like a Fibrex window, which
We
is.
looked
yeah.
into those as well. We weren't sure if that would actually pass, so we kind of,
Both
and they're
of those-
expensive, to be
both of
really
those would-
honest.
Both of those, if we, not that, but if we find that either though, that window is, that the window is cannot be repaired for a reasonable amount of money.
Sure.
And that's where it gets a little tricky, because with the SIO standards, it says you should repair first.
Yeah,
And so when you come here and we've got a repair cost that is less than a new window, it's very difficult for us to approve a new window when the repair cost is less than a new window. So, and we have this coming along all the time now.
I bet you do, yeah.
And because part of our to follow the SOI standards, which is, the best thing is to keep the window that was there to begin with. And that's one of our goals. Because it has, even though the simulated divided lights do a good job, it's not the same, and there's just, there's all sorts of things that you can kind of tell, even on the second floor, the difference between a wood window that's been repaired from the 30s compared to a new aluminum-clad window.
Yeah, no, and we certainly understand that, obviously, and if that's the way it goes, then we
Okay.
certainly accept that. The
Okay.
reason we would prefer the replacement is just it's be a better window. Our issue is kind of with the weather, not the weather, but the cold that comes in, the heat that comes in, and even repairing that would still get us a single pane glass window versus, a modern window that's insulated. And especially, not that it's your problem, but our house, it doesn't have any type of ducts, so we go to a multi-split system, which is less efficient, and so any heat and cold that comes into certain rooms, it's very difficult to get that to a kind of a comfort level, and that's especially true upstairs. Again, we'll obviously do what the committee recommendation is, but that's why we would prefer to replace, just to get a better, more livable window in there.
And I have a question about that aluminum
Cladding.
screwed on.
Storm window.
Right. That to me is not very attractive. So the idea of taking that off, I don't know what's under that, and having new windows put in would remove whatever is under there as well and replace it with all new framing. And I like that idea as opposed to leaving that on the exterior and just fixing the framework.
I'm sitting here looking at the itemization from the repair quote. And I see just kind of a list here, they're talking about reglazing the top sash and so they're talking about new glass in general.
There's
Okay.
broken glass, yeah.
Yeah, so they're talking about doing some things that are going to improve some of the things that you're talking about, because they're doing jam repair and rot repair. So they're doing work that will improve the conditions. I don't think they're just sort of repairing the window, they're repairing what's around it too. So I think that there is gonna be an improvement. I think that there's going to be an improvement in the quality. I don't know, and this is more a commission question to my colleagues here. When someone does a window repair, is that glazing repair something that also improves the efficiency of said window, or is it, I don't know the answer to that question.
I guess it probably, I would think that you're not going to two panes of glass
Right, exactly.
with an airspace in between, and that's where the efficiency of glazing comes in.
Right,
Now, that one of the things that could be done is those storm windows can be taken off, and you could have a storm window made that would fit in there, and it would be, unfortunately, it would be two sets of a storm and a screen. So you'd have to take it off in the winter, or take it off in the summer and put it on in the winter type of thing. And that's the way it was done, and that would be acceptable here too, so.
well, I would think just the repair itself, if you're having trouble opening, closing the windows, and
Oh,
it's
sure.
permanently open, and doing some of those repairs. I have, at the back of my own home, some single pane windows themselves. Are they the most efficient things in the world? They could probably be more efficient, but the integrity is there. And so
Yeah.
I think that with those repairs, you're going to experience a lot more improved conditions. Plus, it's also the second floor, so it's a little warmer just by nature. But some of those problems that you'll be having will go away just with the repair itself. I understand, because I think everybody kind of comes in here with the hope that we're gonna, just be like, let's get rid of those windows. But it's the first goal, our first goal is to preserve rather than replace if we can. And it sounds like it's not, the cost is great. I think that it definitely makes some sense from our perspective to go with the repair cycle rather than to go with the replace, at least on the second floor, then, you know, on the first floor, just do something that,
Yeah, and if that's what the committee votes,
Yeah.
that's ultimately what we'll do.
Yeah.
I think though, you know, to talk about taking out the storm windows and replacing them with storm windows to get that efficiency, well, that'd be more cost on top of this, so that would kind of bridge that gap a little bit. And we currently, as you said, have the storm windows on now, and I can tell you, they don't.
They probably don't.
They don't
Yeah.
do anything.
They
or
don't do much
much,
if they do
much.
anything. Yeah, I-
It's
Versus,
just an
versus a
added-
modern,
yeah.
you know, versus a modern window. And I don't know how much this matters, but, you know, the house, if you see the pictures, is set quite far away from the road. So it's not like a lot of people walking by would notice. But like I said, if ultimately the goal is to keep the windows and that's the way you vote, we'll keep the windows. It's just, our preference would be modern windows up there just for the comfort of the house.
yeah.
But
So if the estimate that we currently have to repair them, it just includes the repair of the window.
that's our
Right.
understanding, yeah.
So-
And
Does anybody know, any of you know, how much a new storm would cost if they went that route per window?
Well, right now, and I'm not answering your question, but if we go to the new window cost is, you know, a little under double the repair cost, I would imagine that if we were to, per window, add in the storms, that it's not going to trump the cost of the new window. And that's one of the things that we gauge, just so you know why we're even talking
sure.
about cost in the first place, is because part of the parameters is, you know, if something, you know, it's like, oh, we're gonna repair these windows, and it's, you know, $10,000 to repair them, and it's $2,000 to, you know what I mean? Where
Yeah,
the
of course.
gap that is so large that it doesn't make any sense. In our case, that's something that we do look at, you know, is it prohibitive
Yeah.
to do these things? And in this case, it's almost the opposite. Even if we added on the cost of the storms, it's still gonna be less than the new windows, so that kind of takes that argument for us off the table.
I think you'd need new storms and new screens. You need
Right.
two items.
Right.
yeah.
And so, just my opinion here, I agree with you that those storms are hideous. And the ones that you're gonna put in down below, could you just real quickly talk about the screen that those windows are gonna have? Is that a separate full screen, or is it incorporated into the window
That's,
jamb?
yeah, that's a great question that I unfortunately don't know the answer.
Okay.
I didn't, I can find that out and we can pass it on, but
Yeah, I'm just
I'm
trying
not
to
sure
just see if
exactly.
there's like, you know, if that's
Yeah.
going to be something that's permanently in front of the new window, or is it something that you could remove? So,
Yeah, our expectation would be, well, I don't want to answer wrong, so
Okay.
we'd really
Yeah.
have to come up with that. The screens weren't the biggest part of, you know,
Right,
when we reached
right.
out and
but that kind of goes to the other point, you know,
Yeah.
I'm all in favor of removing those storm screens on the top,
yeah,
but you know, and I'm probably gonna be, you know, going against maybe what I've thought in the past, but, you know, that means that, you know, you'd have to have some separate, at least
Right.
storm and screen, which would add to the cost.
And-
If you couldn't do that, and, you know, we don't have the cost for that yet.
sure.
You know, I would not be in favor of repairing those windows and not having any kind of storm or screen on there.
And we could have found cheaper windows that would have met the criteria too. We looked at these specifically because they were highly rated in the areas that we wanted. They are, I think the original quote we had was, and again, I don't want to say it completely wrong, but somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 per window cheaper for a different version of the same thing from a different manufacturer. But because the efficiency is what, you know, one of the main drivers for replacing the windows now anyway, we did go with a higher cost. So again, I completely understand what you're saying but the cost is higher not on purpose necessarily, because I don't want to pay more, but because we were looking for a better product at the
Right.
end.
Yeah, yeah, and Marvin is definitely a very reputable
Yeah.
window and does a really good window. Yeah, I do see in the quote that full screens are on it, so
Okay.
there would be full screens on though.
Yeah, but do you think they're like
They're-
integrated into the?
No, I would think
They
that
would be removable.
they're removable and they're on the front. That's where they usually end up, so,
Full screens with the Marvin?
with the Marvin,
Okay.
yeah. And usually it would go in front of the window.
Right, but if he did the repair on the top windows, he would need a full screen and a full storm,
Yes,
adding to the cost. And I just want to throw this out there because I think there's something to be said, you know, those upper storms and screens are not original, they're not historic in any way. I think there's something to be said for, you know, having the upper windows kind of look the same as the lower
more
windows.
visible
That would
and,
be my dream.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So to have a mismatched, you know, upper and lower, I think in this case, you know, I'm not necessarily in favor of that.
yeah, I mean, it really is, we're running into the same issues over and over again
Right.
now, where it's like, yes, there is a repair cost, and I don't know whether Window Roper, I mean, he had a low, on the last time we had Window Roper repair cost, it was a low ball effort, and I'm concerned about that too. Because I don't want to say you have to repair your windows and you go and get this guy to get out there and do it, and then come back and say, not come back to us, but like, wow, you know, we didn't even, you know, we were expecting something and it didn't happen, you know.
The hidden costs.
What's that?
The hidden costs.
The hidden
Right,
cost,
yeah.
well, I mean, and if if you're in that far, it's gonna be difficult to say, well, come back to us and say, well, he didn't do a good job on it, and I've already paid him, you know.
Right.
Did you reach out to other repair companies, or?
We had two that actually were able to come and give us a quote, and he was, I think, the cheapest. Or what was the problem with the first one? Oh, the problem, you dealt with him, but I think the first one, we didn't seem overly credible in how he went about his business.
He made it sound like it was going to take a year and a half.
I don't think he took measurements, I don't think he was really very
Right.
detailed
He
in
was,
his approach.
he was willing to work on one at a time with about a 6-month lead time,
Oh, wow.
so that we'd have plywood for
For-
each window while he was working on it off-site.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yes.
Yes, that's frightening.
Yeah, right.
We did call
Right.
others, and, you know, I think they didn't respond.
It's very difficult to get people to do, I mean, to do
Right.
3 windows too is difficult.
Just to answer the earlier question, I just Googled it really quickly, so this
Yeah.
might not be that accurate, because I don't know exactly what the area is costing right now, but Google says repairing a historic replica storm window, so that would be a better material than the aluminum, would cost about $200 to $400 each.
Okay.
So that's also a pretty wide span, so I
Yeah,
mean,
I would
Yeah, I was
put it,
thinking 300
I was-
for a
I was
storm
thinking,
and a
yeah,
screen. you
yeah.
know.
It,
So $600 a window.
yeah,
For
and
3
that,
windows,
and
that's
then,
another
then they do
1,800.
get close to what the price of what the other, because the price on the 3 upper windows was $21.97, and you get 15 and 14, so you're getting close on
Yeah,
that.
to repair the uppers plus put in new
The
ones, it's
storm.
12,600.
And
That's
if-
the total.
If that ultimately becomes a replica exterior anyway, then
Right.
what's the difference, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know, it's,
I,
I understand the point of preserving the historical, but if ultimately we're doing that just to cover it up with a replica, and even with the storm window, I would still think we're getting a worse performing window than a double pane. And again, I'm not a window person by any means, but I would still think we're getting a worse performing for about the same cost, just to have an exterior facing, you know, fascia that's not historical anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Did the repair quotes, did they come, when they were out, did they do like a lead paint test on the
I-
windows and determine that it had it?
I saw on his quote that he had like $300 for lead paint remediation, and I'm not sure if that meant he found lead paint and
Yeah.
needed to
I
do
think he
it, or if
assumed.
that's
I think
just
he
an,
assumed.
yeah, if that's just an assumption.
Could I speak to that? Yeah, I
Of course.
talked to him on the phone because I know that this was gonna be something that we wanted in the quote. And he said that he didn't test it, but, that is what it typically ranges if it is present.
Okay.
So that's why the range, start at the low end, doesn't include it, to the high end, it includes it.
Gotcha.
And I would think that a window from 1937 around in there is
It's
gonna,
good.
is gonna
That
have
little
lead.
lead.
That was his
Paint in there.
assumption, yeah.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
it usually they, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, how many times it's been painted, and, you know, what it's been, you know, whether it's painted since the 70s or not. But I just go back to like the previous meeting where we had the man from South River Lane. You know, those are really old windows. Those are almost 100-year-old windows. They've been painted, you know.
Multiple times.
Multiple times.
Michael Miller didn't have it, you know, think there was any lead associated with that. There was no cost associated for lead removal.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, you know, I think in this case, we would just consider the worst-case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Include
would
the
assume.
lead.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as
I think
potential
that's.
and the cost and.
So that's where I'm thinking, like, the fact that to get apples to apples, we would want to include lead abatement for each three of the windows, and then also to add storms on both, you know,
Then I
storm
think
and
that
screen.
the cost actually comes out to about the same.
The same,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know,
And-
it's 12.6 without the replacement storm and screens. If those are $300 apiece, we're gonna add $1,800. You know, it's gonna come out to about 14.
Yeah, yeah, I don't. Anything to add, Mr. Tobler?
Yeah, there was a comment in the report here that the replacement windows for the historic did not meet SOI standards. Am I mistaken there?
No, you're correct.
The historic windows do not meet it?
You know, the replacement windows do not meet the SOI standards for replacing.
Let me look back at that.
Where'd it go?
Yeah, under the staff analysis, is that where you are, Andrew?
Yes.
The proposed replacement conforms to some but not all of the SOI standards and therefore should not be approved.
I believe I hope this wasn't, I guess, a mistaken understanding of the SOI standards. I wrote it that way because I figured it didn't meet what I'm calling the feasibility test financially, but that might not actually be in the SOI standards. I might have got my standards mixed up a little bit. And it does remove historic material, so I
Right.
figured,
Right, you're right,
no,
yeah.
okay. So purely on the fact that it removes historic material.
Okay.
And it doesn't replace it with, well, at the time I thought it was in-kind material, but it's not quite, so.
I'd just say it's not often I fight to pay more for things, so that should factor in, but.
You're stepping up this time.
Yeah.
And
So-
there's some I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
there's some interesting information about my house here that
You
was
did
not presented to
nice-
us when
nice
we bought
job.
the house. So
Yeah.
this was,
All my predecessors worked, thank you.
Yeah, did a nice job researching.
yeah, definitely. I did not know my downstairs was formerly a garage. That was interesting. And the upstairs.
Explains a lot.
Our 3 bedrooms upstairs, our master bedroom does not have an ensuite bathroom. It's like one little bathroom upstairs, and then one larger room, and then the second 2 rooms, you walk through one to get to the other. And I always wondered why, like who designed that
Well, that explains the
house?
hydraulic lift in your living room.
But the fact that it was a garage downstairs and an apartment upstairs, like, oh.
Do you have a
I
basement?
see.
No.
No.
Okay.
Which is another thing, we don't have any storage for
It's-
storm windows. We have
Right.
a detached 1-car garage
Which is full.
of gardening equipment and motorcycles. and bicycles.
Well, the non-historic windows, you're doing a good thing by upgrading the appearance of them. So that's a positive, and from what I'm understanding, you want all the windows to match,
I'd love that.
which it's the front of your house, so that would be wonderful if they do. It sounds like ordinarily we would strongly recommend that you do the repair, but because there are other factors involved in this, meaning you'd have to get, or suggested that you would get a storm and a screen, which is going to add to the cost, it's kind of comparing apples to apples here. So I don't know what we're going to do, Lisa.
So,
I'll let you go, Paul.
I don't know, I mean, I think what I'm hearing from the commission is that they're kind of pushing towards that side where this would be a spot where we would probably allow the replacement windows for a couple of reasons. One of them is to keep the cohesiveness of the front of the house.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of what, while we want historic stuff, we still want it to be aesthetically pleasing, and I think it would look odd to have. And I think the fact that we would, adding in the storm windows and the lead abatement, whether it needs to be done or not, and the questionability of the actual estimate, because I'd hate to have, him start working on this and say, well, it's really gonna be a lot more. And I know that the Michael Miller quote from the other house was considerably more than the window roper.
I would want to be careful there myself, though, because, Window Roper's given us 2 quotes here. They've been, we don't really know what.
We don't know, yeah.
What kind of work he does. The guy from the past didn't, think that much of him. Maybe he's great,
Yeah,
Maybe
that's
they
true.
just
And I don't
didn't
think
hit
we
it
want
off.
to get into the business of recommending or not recommending
No.
contractors,
Yeah.
because I think that's a slippery slope too.
Yeah. So, I mean, I take his numbers, as they are.
As they are,
you know,
and
and
when-
my assumption is if he does the work, he's gonna do a good job, and if he didn't, you would,
Yeah.
you'd have a problem paying him, and that would be between you guys.
Yeah,
But I think I kind of agree in that, this is a little bit different. If those upper windows had original screens or original storm windows, frames, then I'd say repair those. Since there's non-historic storm screen there now, that's gonna come off because it's terrible. And we don't know what the cost of those are gonna be to replace those. I think I would agree that, to keep the upper and lower the same probably makes the most sense in this case.
okay. Well, if I can get a motion to approve with specifically just stating what we are approving, because there are 2 options here.
So, I think I can put together a motion, because I think we all, not that we're voting as a team, it doesn't work like that, but, I understand the argument and I agree with the argument, so I'll put together the motion. So I move to approve, the window replacement at 216 Stevens Street, with both the 3 historic windows and the replacement of 4 non-historic windows, with the second option, the proposed new windows as presented.
Second.
Zelmer,
Aye.
Tobler,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
McManus,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. Thank you very much for coming out.
So much.
Thank you all for your time.
Didn't know it was gonna be that hard, did you?
Yeah, no.
But I really am pouring my heart into making that home as
Yeah.
beautiful as we can.
Well, now you have a story for it, too.
Very
If you
good.
want more
Should've been here last
information,
month.
you can also check with the Geneva History Museum, and they might have some additional information for you.
We did, we
Oh,
actually
you
stopped
did.
by there to get the original picture.
Oh.
And that was the oldest picture they had of the
It was like
home,
1999.
1999, so we kind of hit a wall there,
Yeah.
so thanks for the insight, as odd as it is.
Great.
All right, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will tomorrow write a letter confirming this, and then I'll send it off to you guys with your building, or with your materials, and then you'll just come to the building department whenever the permit is ready. You pick that up and start work.
Sounds good.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Okay. Our next agenda item is 527 Ford Street, window trim and door replacement. Jesse?
All right, so that's what that is for. That's where the property is located, top left corner. This one has a little bit more history to it. So a house was constructed either in 1892 or 1894 and occupied by Albert and Louisa Bogren. Then the front porch was contained into the house in 1897. A two-car garage replaced a one-car garage that was built sometime before 1921. Two-car garage was built in 1947. And then renovations were made sometime before 1956. It was converted to a two-flat in addition to the rear of the home at that time. And then in 2007, there were window openings altered and vinyl windows installed. This is the permit history that also, it does include the unpermitted window alterations and vinyl windows at the top. 2017, there was a re-roof. 2022, there was an interior and exterior demolition. In 23, a window replacement at the rear and secondary facade of the home. In 23, there's a kitchen, bathroom remodel. And then also 23, replace rear deck, stairs, and roof, framing improvements. I'll stay on that for a little bit, so you guys can read it. All right. So this is the project scope here, and I'll let the applicant describe a little bit more about it. I'll just show, this is the extent of the pictures. Yeah. So, come on up.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
If you
Name?
could- What's it?
I'm sorry, you're going to ask the name? Should I?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could you state
Rob-
your name for
Yeah,
the,
Robert Yeager, Bob.
thank you.
So, two things going on. Starting in 2022, those are the permits that I've applied for. The stuff before that is stuff that I inherited when we purchased the property in about 2022. The general theme on the outside, and as it relates to the request today, is basically trying to take what I acquired in 2022 and moving it more towards the historically correct appearance of it. We did remove the transite siding that was on the outside and got back to the original clapboard. So the whole theme for me basically on the outside is trying to move back towards the original. You may or may not be familiar with it, but on the pictures on the northwest side and the east side are pretty good representations of what had been there since the time that I purchased it, which were basically just awful coverings of the window trim. So yeah, in the center there, that's a great example of, it is literally just plywood covering over and painted white, so it's horrible. By any standard, it's horrible. On the north side, on the right-hand side, that is actually, the reference, the one on the left-hand side there in this photo, this is where they had whatever, presumably something like some of the other plywood, then covered it over with metal, and it's all just historically incorrect. So my efforts on the outside is just trying to get it back towards historical. It's interesting, again, just like the last person, I thought it was kind of cool that you guys have the history that you do, of course, obviously because it's a historical commission. But even in 1999, the oldest photo apparently that, am I guessing that this is the oldest one that you guys have on record of the building?
Yes.
Yeah, so even that is not as close as what I'm at right now with being historically accurate.
Yeah.
So that's pretty simply put, that's just kind of the theme. I'm trying to go back there. And then that's basically it. So happy to answer any questions you have.
Well, I walk by that house all the time, and I've actually met you before. I've stopped
Oh.
to talk with you.
Oh, okay.
And to,
Hopefully I made a
But-
good impression.
you did, you did. And to also let you know what a beautiful job you're doing on, because I remember what the house used to look like.
Yeah, thank you.
And you're working very hard on it, so thank you very much
You
for
bet.
your
I
efforts.
appreciate that. Yeah.
And you're very kind, and you're very, very thoughtful when you stopped to talk to me about the house and what you were doing,
Oh,
so.
thanks. Great.
Well, I don't walk by it all the time, but I did drive by it and got out, so if you have a ring anywhere around there, I'm the person that was
I tell
basically
everybody, they're
walking
all
over the
welcome,
place.
just bring coffee, right?
But the front door is like a total loss. I mean, I don't even know how that gets repaired. If repair it, to me, is even like off the table for that door. It's like, I don't even, is it keeping, it's destroyed.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you go. That's,
That's my thought as well. I mean, in my heart, and I am the tradesman that's doing a lot of this stuff, and I enjoy doing it. This carpentry in particular is kind of my first love when it came to the trades. If that door was savable, or if it was a style of door that was savable, then I would certainly put the work into it. It's not.
well,
It's
you,
not.
by the time you did the repairs, you'd end up with a new door. I mean,
The
Well in
door is
excess.
not historical anyways.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, it's just,
I believe it was an interior door that was put in the way. And then if you reference the picture here from 1999, it's even hard to tell what was there. It may or may not be a storm-type door covering on there, the 1999 picture, but yeah, we don't even know what was there to begin with. So my intention was just to put into something that had a generally correct historical appearance about it, so.
yeah.
Could we go back to the
Oh,
photo
I see, yeah.
with the east side? So on the east side photo there,
Yes,
the intent is to make that one window look like the back one.
there's
Is that-
two in that photo, so I want to make
So
sure.
are you gonna work on both of them, or just the one that's?
Both of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, the leftmost picture and then the next to its right, which includes two windows. Well, in fact, all these that are shown, yeah. I'm trying to go back to something that's dimensionally correct. So you'd have approximately 3.5 on the side, 3.5 inches on the side, going all the way up.
So the one in the back on the east side photograph there.
I'd actually started that one, not knowing that.
Because that looks different than the one closer
Correct,
to it,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, the one we're referring to the picture that says east side directly underneath it. And then in that photo on the right-hand side, it's off in the distance, but yes, that, I had actually nearly completed that one before I was made aware that I needed to be permitting for this. I kind of thought it was just kind of, yeah, so that one is nearly complete.
Say no more.
Yes.
we get it.
Here we are.
Mr. Yeager, by the way, there's a clicker, you can, or like
Oh, okay.
it has a red dot, you can point.
Oh,
and
okay, thank
indicate
you.
If
Thank
it
you.
helps, yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, and the one on the right, in fact, if we go, can you help me with this? Will the arrows work too? Okay.
They will.
So, in the front elevation, this is also one I think that would kind of be indicative of where we're going with the trim. Is the arrow? Yeah. On the lower window set of the right hand, on the right-hand side there, that one is really complete.
On the east side?
I'm sorry, the south side photo,
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
which would be, yeah.
And
so
there's
I'll
a
try one more.
blow-up of it, I believe, in our packet.
Yes.
Should be a red button you hold down
Oh,
as you hold
yeah,
it.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
There we go. So this window is one that I had actually completed already. And it's got the 3.5-inch dials on the right-hand side, this full kind of complete piece of trim in the middle, and then the upper has a crown detail on it. I will, whether I should or shouldn't, we're just having the discussion about it. As I look at the original, or the closest reference that we have to the original, which is from the 1999 photo, that trim detail does not seem to have that crown molding up above, which you see pretty commonly in the period.
Yeah.
but it isn't, right? And so if that would be a preference, I personally don't mind that aesthetic. I think it's consistent with historic, so that's cool too. Typically, it's got a wood piece of, what they got, it's drip cap, it's just a little ledge over the top that sheds water over it. So I'm happy to do either that detail or the one that I was headed towards here, which was, it's difficult to tell from this photo, but if you can imagine just a piece of crown molding on the top of that head. A piece of crown molding, that's actually, there is a piece of crown in this photo.
Yeah.
And I would have added it here and to any of the other windows, that this is the only piece that was missing here would be that crown. But I could, go ahead.
So on the lower window there,
Yes,
there
sir.
is a piece of crown there, right?
There
But
is.
it's right on top of the
Yep,
window.
yep.
The window above, there's like a 2-3 inch reveal above the top of the window before you get to the crown.
Correct. Yeah, and.
Which
and
look, in my opinion, looks better, but
having
What
it
looks
higher or
better?
lower?
Higher.
having it higher,
Yeah, I would-
having a bit of a
having a little bit of
reveal.
relief.
Yeah,
there.
I would absolutely agree with you. So it is typically that. You'll have a 5-inch piece of head on the top, and then on the very top portion of that 5 inches and down is the crown typically.
Yeah.
The only reason that we didn't do that here, and it really was a matter of trying to be consistent with this, it's kind of artistic discretion, I guess I'd call it, where you've got this 1x6, we'll call it headpiece here, and we wanted to carry that line consistently over here, so it looked consistent. And if we had raised the crown to the height as you're talking about, it would kind of come in the middle and it looks a little goofy. So we just kind of decided to do it here where that worked. As we go up to the top, we have the room, and I will put it at that upper portion, we'll say. And likewise, I would put it at the upper portion of here and all the other pieces that we install.
I mean, I guess typically, this is for the commission, I mean, we don't usually like to add architectural features that there's no evidence of
Yeah,
them
that's
being
kind of why I
there.
brought it up.
Yeah, we don't, there's really no,
But we don't know.
Well, I feel like there are no architectural features that when you bought the house, you know, it was featureless, even period-specific featureless, you know?
Yeah.
It had been so shaved back over time and covered over and taken off and replaced and, you know, all sorts of odd solutions. And so I guess the question to the commission is, do we put it back to where, you know, we think it should be? You know, do you add a detail that you think would be period appropriate? To me, it sounds like a fine solution for a home that would have had those details and those features, especially when it was lacking any real feature in the first place.
Yeah. I would throw out, as we kind of think about this together, that quite frankly, as I look at the others from my mechanical mind and how I'm going to do it, because you're looking at the guy who's putting them on, right?
sure.
When I deal with the other windows, the side windows are much easier because there's no other competing element, I guess I'd say. There's nothing else in the way. But actually, this is a good indication. So these are not windows that I had intended to include, but the notion of putting a piece of crown up here, as I think about this later when I come back to you and say, okay, I've got all the rest done, I'm ready to do these. I don't know that a piece of crown would actually look all that good there.
No,
I don't think
so
it would either. And I actually, it's funny, there are details like that on my house where up in the eaves, it's a different detail than on the first
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah.
So I think that I do kind of agree with Kevin, it might be better to just say, we don't know what was there, and if you do a heavier head and thinner 3.5-inch stiles or on the sides, I think that would be fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that might be the simplest solution. It would look better than what the plywood is there now, and
Right.
a whole lot better than that, so.
Yeah.
So you're voting for not including the
I'm kind of voting for
crown?
no crown at
Yeah.
all.
I
I
would
just-
want to make them consistent,
Yeah, exactly.
and I would lean probably personally towards no crown.
No crown.
You'd only be saving me some angst in trying to figure out how I would do it anyway.
Yeah,
So I'm not-
exactly.
But if we can, and I'm sure you wouldn't object to this, there is typically, in period correct window heads like this, there is not only the 5-inch piece, but there's also
There's a piece of cap that goes
it
over
is,
the
it
top.
truly is
Yeah.
a drip cap.
Yeah, it is a
Right.
drip
Yeah.
cap. Yeah, that is appropriate, I
Yeah,
think.
okay.
Adding the crown, I think, is maybe a step too far.
So if we set the crown aside, will you allow me the discretion to either use the wood drip cap
Sure.
or not the wood drip cap at all and just leave it with the 5-inch head and
I
do a
think
conventional
just
metal
window
drip cap?
painting it around would be fine too. I don't think either way would be that big.
I'm sorry, say that.
I don't think, I think that, I'm leaving that up to you of the detail, because again, we don't know what was there to begin
No.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in fairness, I think we do, because we can at least see 1990. Well, maybe not, right? That's
Yeah, I don't know
1999.
what-
Who knows
That's
what
been
happened to that
kinda-
house between,
yeah,
you
run
know,
over quite a bit since
40s and
then,
the
too.
90s.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Do you agree, Kevin?
Yeah, I do, I think I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I know I do, I mean,
You think you do, but.
I know I do agree with that.
Okay. But, yeah, I mean, I think that you're doing a great job on it, and I think the door it does look like an interior door. I don't know what,
Yeah, that did not
that
withstand
doesn't look like a
the test
regular.
of time.
There's been a lot of layers to this onion, I'll tell you, there's a lot of stuff in
Yeah.
there that, yeah.
Yeah.
On the door, I didn't review any policy on that, but have we approved fiberglass doors? Front fiberglass doors in the past?
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Okay, so,
Are you going to keep it a two-family?
Yes.
Is it a rental?
Not currently.
It was.
It was, yes. Yeah, it's split with 2 gas meters, no, 1 gas meter, 2 electric meters. It's set up to be.
Gotcha. So what are we doing?
Approving?
if I can get a motion to approve,
Okay. I
You-
approve,
go ahead.
ready? I approve the permit application for 527 Ford Street as presented for the window trim and door replacement.
Second.
Zelmer,
Aye.
Tobler,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
McManus,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming out tonight.
Thank you.
Keep coming by.
I will.
Yeah, appreciate it. It's good.
Okay, our last item, or not last item, but our last permit review is 521 South Street rear addition. Jesse?
The keyboard stopped working, so I will go to the podium.
Yeah.
It's right by your house, huh, Paul?
Across the street.
We stare at each other every day.
Okay, 521 South Street. There it is. We have pretty much no information at the moment about this house.
It is a
So, we know when it was constructed, and then Emily did some research. Also, she's our preservation planner. I did not introduce her. Sorry about that. She started on the 7th, and this is the last meeting that I'll be running, and then she'll take over from there. So, sorry about that, Emily. But yeah, she did some research looking through the phone books to find out who lived there from 1956 to 1974, but we don't have any architectural information about the house from historical records. This is a permit history from city permits that we know about. New roof in 99, new deck in 2000, a 3-car detached garage in 2003, brick paver walkway, then in 2004, converted detached garage to living space. We have permits for 2 bath remodels, then plumbing in 2017, and then a re-roof in 22, and a re-roof in 25. I can't remember which one was the garage, but that's why there's 2. Second one? Okay. And then I have a picture of where they want to put the addition, and then remove the part of the existing deck for the addition. And I have the plans for that, and they can discuss further. Use this clicker thing.
Hi, I'm Rich Krieger, homeowner.
I am John Ray, contractor.
Welcome. We didn't get a concept review on this, did we?
Not that I remember.
Not that I recall.
No, they brought it to me maybe like 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Okay. And we're looking at this because it's the back, it is visible from the street, basically?
Correct.
Yeah, you can tell.
Okay.
Well, I'll start.
Good.
I think that if we were to talk about goals for additions and anything like that, is to make sure that we can still see the original facade and form that was the historic piece, and that's certainly not a problem here, so I think that's good. Secondly, we're looking at materials that correspond with what's on, the house or something that complements it. And it looks like you're doing some siding that's intended to match the existing home? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? I'm just stating facts.
I'm just curious, what is that siding made out of? Is it wood?
It is a wood siding,
Okay.
wood clad siding. And the intention is to, where the addition is to remove the existing siding and reuse as much as possible.
Okay, good.
I'd like to hear that.
And you'll be removing some of the deck, I'm assuming, or is that going to be recreated, or after you've built the addition?
Oh, there's a portion of the deck that's gonna go away.
It's gonna go. Will there be any deck there? Not that that's necessarily our
Well,
purview,
We're
but.
debating that, but for the purposes of what footprint we need, we are removing decks.
What's your feeling on the number of additions in that house? Do you have any feel for that? Because it looks like there's been several.
30-year owners now, so a little background. I know the new addition part, and which was include the attached garage, was somewhere 74 to 77. And since then, it's all been conversions over. So the attached garage, well, you don't have a good view here, but it's
You have a
basically-
detached garage too, right?
we built that so we could get rid of the other garage.
Okay, so, right, so that's the original.
The detached, the attached garage was on south, correct?
Yeah, there was a driveway. Yeah, I don't know.
Go back one.
Yeah, there we go.
So it went into that, where that window is, probably that double window?
Yep.
Yeah, the double window and the driveway came all the way out along that lawn,
Okay,
parallel to that fence, so
gotcha.
not a great look.
Was it a single-story garage at one time, or did they, when they
I
closed?
don't know what pre-existed before, because that all was new, that garage, the bedroom above it is all new addition. I think, just totally guessing and going by Edith's house that was next door, there was probably a carport. They had a carport in '94, so I'm guessing, but there was no indication what was there.
Okay.
I do know that the original entrance to the kitchen came through there somewhere, so.
So the reason for the addition that you're asking for now is just for another access or access into the basement from inside the house?
Yeah, interior basement access,
Right.
basically, yeah.
And that window that you'll put into the addition, what's going to be the construction of that? Will it be wood? Will it be?
Oh, yeah, wood.
It'd be wood with vinyl clad to match what's existing.
So that window actually would be in the back, so wouldn't necessarily be.
Yeah, we wouldn't really have much to say about it. But I'm sure you'll go with some
Yeah.
pretty quality window there, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
And the door, the new door coming out the side there, would that be, couldn't remember what the detail was. Was that wood or is that another
We were intending
material?
wood door.
Wood.
And you have the cover over the top, so you could probably do wood there, I would think.
Yep.
I don't have any questions.
Me either.
I mean, it looks great, your house is beautiful, I'm sure this is gonna look beautiful. It meets the standards, it
Yeah.
meets the design guidelines.
Thank you.
Who does your landscaping? You have some great flowers.
Rich does.
I'm very glad we do not have a Ring doorbell because you would see my wife out there all the time. Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah, same.
With that, I think it's a pretty minor addition to the house, and it's on
Agreed.
the backside, and
And you did all the things you're supposed to do
Yep.
in the historic district. So I move to approve the rear addition as proposed at 521 South Street.
Second,
if you could call the roll.
Zelmer,
Aye.
Tobler,
Aye.
Jensen,
aye.
McManus,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
Great. Motion passes. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Thanks for inviting
Thank you.
us. All right, well, we'll get it.
Now you're going. Okay, next on our agenda is the secretary's report, staff updates.
Okay. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Let's do this. Okay, staff updates. We still have the camp event scheduled for Friday, June 27th. We only had one building permit approved for replacing windows and doors at a non-contributing property, the Harrington. Yeah, and then the new preservation planner started. I already said that a little bit. I don't know if she'd like to come up and tell a little bit about herself. Sure.
Oh, before she does that, just thank you for all your help.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did a great
Yes, you
job.
did a great job of.
Jackie,
Yeah.
and your
Thank you.
arrival, you've been wonderful, you've been great. We've loved all of your staff reports that you've sent to us, available for questions. You've been terrific, so thank you for your support.
Sure thing. Yep. Thanks, guys.
And now you can go back to business as usual, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, this was fun. Okay.
Real quick before, and Emily can still come up, I was just saying, what was the schedule for that camp event? Remind me again, is it during the day, is it in the evening?
It's during the day. I think it starts at 12.
Okay.
I'll have to look back
Yeah, I was
at
gonna
it.
And
ask that because I think the invitation said 1 Eastern time on it, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah,
That's,
I thought,
I just want you
I
to do the
thought
math.
David said 12 to 4.
okay, 12 to 4.
okay,
Okay.
on the
And
27th.
is there a space limit for that? I mean, number of people,
40 people.
40
There you
people?
go. Jewel knows.
And
Well,
how many are
someone
currently
can
registered?
have my space because I signed up, but I'm not able to go, unfortunately. So,
I'm going, so I'm looking forward to it.
yeah,
I have to look at my calendar.
I was looking forward. Go ahead, Emily. I'm sorry to.
First of all, I just checked the calendar and 12 to 4 is right. So, I'm Emily. I just ran around and introduced myself before the meeting, but a little bit more about me that you probably saw in an email already. I'm a recent graduate with a Master of Historic Preservation from Tulane University down in New Orleans. Before that, I attended Kent State University down here up when I'm in New Orleans in Ohio for a Bachelor of Arts in Architectural Studies with minors in History, Historic Preservation, and Scenic Design. And I have also had some professional experience in internships with the Advisory Council for Historic Preservation, the National Park Service Midwest Regional Office, Neighbor Settlement around here, and the American Planners Association. So I'm excited to get back home. I'm originally from Lamont, right around here. I'm excited to get back home, get back to where there's winters, and get to work. Thanks
Welcome.
for having me.
Great, welcome. Thank you. Next, new business. Okay, any new business from the commission? If,
Do we know if that camp, if all the slots have been filled yet, or is there still availability for people to?
David has not told me.
Okay.
I know he sent out the stuff. I don't know that much more about that.
Did he just send that out to commissioners and city staff, or what, who did he
I think he
send it
went to
out to?
local commissions too, like
Okay.
St. Charles and
Batavia.
Batavia's and,
And to Preservation Partners.
Yeah, I got an invitation, so I'm coming.
Do you know if he sent it out to any architects or like, you know, Gallagher or any of those types of people that work in the,
I have no idea,
City, okay.
unfortunately. Sorry.
I have not seen it on anything that came through on,
I think he wanted to get a count of our commission to see who would be attending, as well as the
Batavia and St.
Batavia and
Charles.
St. Charles. And then, once he gets a confirmation, and to Al, and then to reach out to other organizations is how I understood it.
I'll take your spot.
That'd be great. I'm gonna be in Pensacola sweating, but that's okay. Walking around buildings. Okay, that's it from anything else from the commission?
are there any updates on any of the ongoing issues that we have? Like Flagstone, the
Oh,
blacksmith shop, the.
Yeah,
I think you guys were already told that the blacksmith shop, I think.
We did get the
Go-
dates for the court
Yes,
appearances.
That's what I was
and-
gonna say.
yeah.
Yeah, so there's no movement on that. Yeah. I don't know of any other open cases. Yeah.
yeah. There's been no development, anything moving on that at all in the way of either that or the one that Duke and Lee's site or anything like that?
I have not heard anything, no.
Okay.
We might just have to wait until Emily can research all of that stuff.
Yes.
We'll just grill you next month, Emily.
Yes.
I'll come
Plus, we got the bottling plant too that we haven't, you know.
Yeah, is that still, had they?
Well,
come
we're waiting
forward
for the
again?
state to, you know, contact, I don't know what we're called, but,
They still, yeah. There's a little committee that was formed to be involved with the state with Darius. And that was back in maybe December, and we still have not met or talked or nothing.
And then I think there's another one out there with, is that greenhouse on the corner of Hamilton and
right.
And they have a Viking ship.
31 for the Viking ship thing. And I'm sure they'll want a demolition permit, but I don't know. I don't think they've thought about that far ahead. So,
Has anybody gone past the 6th and Hamilton edition?
I have.
Looks good, I
Looks
think.
good.
Yeah.
good.
Has anybody gone past the, the man that was here last month on River
Lane?
Lane?
I
Have you
don't-
seen his windows?
I didn't see his windows, but
No,
he hasn't done anything with the windows, but the bluestone looks really good. I saw the stone, I was walking down there the other day, and the stonework does look a lot better. And it's it's a very neutral stone,
Yeah.
which I'm kind of glad. It's not as, it doesn't jump out at you, so I think it worked very well. So, it'll be interesting to see what the rest of these things come up with.
And they're finally demolishing the house, the other house on South River Lane that came before us several
Yes.
months back.
That shouldn't take too long.
Oh, gosh, that was a wreck.
Couple of knocks
Couple
with the
good-
bucket, and
yeah.
that'll be gone.
But they would have to come in front of us if they had a proposal to do it, to a new structure there, right?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I think so.
because it's
I think,
still in the
yeah.
historic district, so. Okay. Even an infill. Okay, with that, any public comment?
I got enough.
What?
I gotta give you guys a break once.
Yeah, well, you were,
It's the summer.
we weren't gonna note that you were late either, but,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
I see how it is.
Oh, now he's got a half an hour of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I can talk to you for hours.
Yeah, I know. No, I'm literally joking. If that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No.